watching Building the Franchise with the New England Patriots, only on the MBL Network.
Welcome to episode number 6 of Building the Franchise, where we're in week number 16 and we continue to be do or die here in New England. Despite a loss last week against the Broncos, we're not out of the playoffs just yet. We still have a chance to get in, and we still have a chance to even win the division. The Jets have a 2-game lead, so we don't completely control our destiny. We need to beat them this week, and we need them to lose next week as well in the week 17 game. If you'll remember from the week 12 game against the Jets, we were in New York. We weren't at home. We didn't have the home field advantage, but that game was ugly. It was a very low-scoring, low-yardage affair. It ended up coming down to a last-second field goal by Gostowski. So this definitely is not going to be a game that we're going to sit here and just take for granted and think that, oh, we beat them once, we can beat them again. It's definitely going to be a game that we're going to have to be focused and be prepared coming in. Our only 2 remaining players that we need to sign, Geno Grissom and Brandon King. Neither one of them make a deal. Both of them decide they want to continue negotiations. We are going to make one personnel change before this game starts. We're going to put LeGarrette Blount as the starting running back and put Dion Lewis as the backup and our third-string running back. This is a change we're going to make because Blount had a little bit more success the last time we played the Jets, so we're hoping he'll be able to continue that this time as well. So that's something we're going to try to exploit in this matchup. For our game plan for this week, we're going to continue to focus on the flood concept on offense and the same 3 focus players for the focus group. We're also going to work on the red zone defense to be ready against these Jets.
I'm Ridley, and this is Madden 17 on EA Sports. Today's game features a very active secondary. The Pats are #1 in forcing interceptions, and they'll be up against the Jets team that will need to avoid those turnovers.
One thing we did not expect coming into this game was the Jets to have such success on offense running the ball. We've had a pretty good run defense the majority of this year, so to break off a huge run like that against us early in the game really was a killer. But a huge early fumble recovery by Jamie Collins for a touchdown helped ease our pain a little bit there from the beginning of the game where they were having success running the ball against us. This early 7-0 lead against the Jets here apparently got in their heads a little bit. They started throwing some dangerous passes. For this whole game, the Jets ended up turning the ball over 8 times. We had 8 takeaways. We intercepted the ball 5 times and recovered 3 fumbles, which was extremely key during this game because our offense really couldn't do anything. We started off with Blount. We ended up rotating Lewis in a little bit because Blount wasn't really getting the job done. They were averaging 5 yards a carry, both of them, a little over 5 yards a carry, but together they only had 61 yards. And Tom Brady was pretty much a non-factor in this game. He had less than 100 passing yards for the entire game, which is obviously something you don't see every day, and it's definitely something you don't want to happen if you're the New England Patriots. You definitely want to be able to air the ball out a little bit better than that. The biggest key to the day, though, had to be our defense. Our defense is, really was the only thing we had going for us this game, and everybody says defense wins championships, and that may be the case. It may end up winning us the division if we can hold on to the rest of this game and we get the Jets to lose next week and we win against Miami. Our defense very well may be the factor that determines whether or not we win the AFC East. We do end up winning this game here against the Jets in New England. We end up winning 21-14 in another really close AFC East matchup. So we're really hoping the Jets lose next week so we'll be able to take the division. So here we are in week 17, the final week of the season. The season is over after this. If we lose, we're out for sure. Like I've mentioned before, if we win, we also need the Jets to lose to be able to win the division off tiebreakers. And the Dolphins are definitely not going to be a team that we're going to assume is going to be an easy win. Even though we beat them and had a lot of interceptions against them early in the season, they've really been trying to figuring out how to play toward the end of the season. I'm not sure if they weren't used to the new controls or what's going on there, but they definitely improved as the season went on, and they're not a team, even though they have only 3 wins, they're not a team that we're going to overlook. They could very well play spoiler here in this run that we've got going on for the AFC East. Before we hop into the highlights for this game, though, we do get Geno Grissom and Brandon King to re-sign finally. And with such little success last week against the Jets running the ball, we're going to make sure that's something that we focus on here this week during our game plan. With the same 3 focus players to close out the season here, and without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the highlights here for this game and see if we can get the win against Miami to close out the season.
This matchup features 2 teams looking for a win. It's the Dolphins coming in at 3-12, going up against the Patriots who come in at 8-7.
In addition to us needing the win to be able to keep our playoff hopes alive, we also have a record watch we're looking out for. McCourty needs 2 interceptions to set the single-season NBL record. Right now the record is 11. He's sitting at 10. So he needs 2 in this game against Miami to break that record. But we go into this game with the same strategy with our running backs as we did in the last game. We keep Blunt as the starter, and he ends up struggling early and is benched for Lewis, who also couldn't really get anything going on his few carries that he had. We ended up falling behind on a couple big plays here. That we ended up having to throw the ball a little more, so we got away from the run game probably a little too early, and that hurt both of them. But the biggest storyline coming out of this game was Brady's inability to hit open receivers in the red zone. There were a couple different occasions where we drove down the field, got in the red zone, and Brady would just miss receivers. There was one instance where a receiver just dropped the ball in the end zone. So that's what killed us this game. We end up falling to the Dolphins 28-16, and thus ending our playoff hopes for the season regardless of what the Jets do. McCourty also only got 1 interception that game, so he ended up not breaking the record. He ends up tying it, which, while that's still good, you'd like to see him bring that home. So we end up finishing the season out 8-8, and that's not at all where we want to be. We're second in the AFC East, and even though we only lost 1 division game this year, we got to make sure we win the games that some of the games we lost. A lot of them were really close. They were one-score games that we just couldn't finish. We couldn't finish the drive, or we fell behind too early, and we had to try to come back, and we weren't able to do that. But be sure to come back and check out the off-season episodes. The next couple episodes will be the off-season material. We got to figure out what we're going to do for Tom Brady. We got to get some improvement on the offensive line, so hopefully we can run the ball a little better next year than we did this year. And make sure you guys check out the new series from Gibbs, Building the Franchise with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It should be coming out in the next day or 2, so make sure you're keeping an eye out for that. Also, now that the season's over, make sure you're tuned in for the MBL Live Super Bowl. The game should be broadcast, and we'll have the commentators on there and everything. We also have the MBL Draft. That's a live thing as well. They also have commentators on there breaking down every pick that's made. So that's something that's really unique to the CFM community, so make sure you guys check that out as well.